Hello Giants fans, welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. One quick announcement before we get started. Spring training is about to start. The Giants will be playing their first game against the Cubs on Saturday. And when it does, my plan is to move forward with posting a video after every game. Not promising they'll never miss any, but that's the plan going forward. The videos will be shorter, but more frequent, so just so you can get ready for that. So it's very clear going into the 2023 season that the Giants are not really contenders to win the division, and honestly I think that's just sad to have to admit that before the season's even started, but there just seems to be no way that they could compete with the Dodgers and Padres, and particularly the Dodgers, just with the top level superstar talent that they've got. It's hard to think that the Giants could compete with them to win the division like they did in 2021. So before the season started, I think we just have to say we're looking at a wild card spot. And that wasn't the case the beginning of last year. I mean, even with the slack off season that shouldn't have happened last year, it shouldn't have happened this time either, but 2021-2022 off season, the Giants didn't really sign the free agents they needed to either, and I think that was more because they kind of thought they were good as far as their roster went. But I think after a 107 win 2021 season, there was reason to think, I mean, they were planning to make a push for the division and wanted to give fans the reasonable hope of that. So that's something that was different in 2022 because Giants were probably thinking they'd be perennial playoff contenders, get right back into the mix. 2023 though, I can just see it pretty clear that the NL West is just not a division that's going to let the Giants climb up to the top, and they've got plenty of mediocre to good talent and plenty of roster depth, but as far as top level, since they don't have it, it's pretty clear that what we're looking at is a wild card spot. Even if it were the last wild card spot, it gets them into the playoffs, gives them a chance to just have that clutch moment and surprise and beat everybody else in the postseason and win the World Series. And it may seem like a long shot to some, but I think what we're saying right now is that the Giants basically are going to have to figure out a way to do it. And their reliance on prospects, that's going to be, unknown until it really gets closer to the season. And of course it's going to depend on who gets injured, and it's just what we can't be too excited about is prospects who, if they were to reach the big leagues, would be just as likely to perform poorly as to perform well. So, no more Mauricio Dubons, no more, let's say, Connor Menezes. He was, for fans who have already forgotten him, he was a starting pitcher, and then called up in September of 2019 and got into a few games in 2020. He wasn't good. And Derek Rodriguez, another guy in the rotation, good in 2018, not so good in 2019. Some guys that we just can't have really any more of, right? Prospects who are just as likely to perform poorly as to perform well. And so far that's been the case with Joey Bart. Now, will Joey Bart someday become the next Buster Posey? The answer to that is I don't know. He was drafted and signed for $7 million. Projections were high on him. I'm not saying that he's not going to be a superstar. I'm not saying he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. I'm just saying right now he hasn't proven himself. Right now the Giants are trying to win games, and they're going to have to do better just overall with the roster and keep the reliance on prospects who are going to be below average to a minimum. So again, and just with the prospects, you could say this about anyone in the Giants farm system. Do I know a guy's not going to be in the Hall of Fame someday? No, I don't know that at all. But we're trying to win games right now, and if they'd be called up to the majors in 2023 and not perform well, then I'm still saying those are not the guys we can rely on. Remember that 2023 has to be a contending year for the Giants. desperately were looking to get back into the playoffs somehow. By the way, this whole prospect core thing, it could apply to the bullpen. That's been mentioned a lot. And they've got guys like Scott Alexander and Cole Waits. I keep forgetting on Alexander. I think he's in camp with the Giants this year. I know Cole Waits is. He did pretty well for them last year. And I guess the only thing would be with higher leverage situations, what really goes on. Say you put Cole Waits in the 8th inning in a tied game with 2 outs and the bases loaded. Is he going to get out of that jam? Those are the important questions to ask, and those are the important issues that they really have to deal with the prospect relievers. And you could have guys that come in and pitch a 9th inning in a blowout game who couldn't get the save in that same inning. Or pitch the 8th inning. That can be kind of a different thing. We're looking at really with high pressure situations, what are these relievers going to do when the game is on the line? So I would say that's where that whole thing goes. And some of that, in the past, I'll just give a couple examples. The way the Giants were knocked out of the playoffs in 2020 and 2021 was kind of through poor bullpen management. I want to be respectful to our manager here, but I can also critique a couple of things he's done in his career with the Giants, and they both relate to bullpen management. And in 2020, it was a critical game, second game of a doubleheader against the Padres, and it was the bottom of the 7th inning, which is the equivalent of the 9th in a non-doubleheader game. And by the way, now I think they've moved doubleheaders, permanently back to 9-inning games, but in 2020, the COVID year, it was 7-inning game. And I just remember they were leading the Padres 5-3, and Sam Coonrod was pitching in the 9th inning, and he had an out and 2 runners on base. Clearly, he was struggling with his command, and Gabe Kapler had the lefty Wandy Peralta in the bullpen. Why he didn't bring him in, I don't know. His only explanation for that was that Peralta was his length guy and Coonrod was his leverage guy, but Coonrod ended up surrendering a 3-run home run to left-handed hitter Trent Grisham, which that's just... Now, am I saying that Wandy Peralta would have gotten out of the inning, gotten the save, all would have ended well? No, I'm not saying that. And I'm definitely not saying that Peralta was one of the top relievers in baseball, or that his career was spectacular or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, as far as what the Giants had in their bullpen, he was the best option. So I can't look back on a game like that without saying that basically Coonrod never should have stayed in when he was struggling so significantly with his command. And command issues can just be seriously devastating for a pitcher. I can tell you that right now. In the 2021 National League Division Series, the Giants were playing the Dodgers. It was tied at 1 run apiece. Top of the 9th inning, Camilo Doval had a situation with 1 out, 2 runners on base. Clearly, he was struggling with his command. Lefty Cody Bellinger singled in the winning run against him. After that, after Bellinger's single, Kapler brought in right-handed starter Kevin Gausman. He got a couple of outs. It was too late. The Giants did not come back in the bottom of the 9th inning. Now, if Doval had been pulled 1 batter earlier, could that have changed things? Well, I don't know what Bellinger would have done. I think maybe so. And then it would have gone into extra innings. Gausman, he had, I believe, 4 days of rest since his start in Game 2 of that playoff series. He could have just, I would say, gone a long time, as long as he needed to, in extra innings, and hopefully won the game for the Giants. So it would have been a great opportunity to use Kevin Gausman in long relief in extra innings. But why Camilo Doval was left in when he was struggling with his command, that's what I don't quite get. And people speculate what would have happened if he'd thrown his fastball, but sometimes I think that's kind of beyond the point. He should have come out of the game when he was struggling with his command in that high leverage situation. So those are just a couple of examples of what happened in the most critical situations, and it wasn't good. But just as far as a regular season goes, that kind of bullpen management should be optimalized. But the real point is that it can't be done if the talent itself is not there. So offhand, I can't compare the Giants' current bullpen to what it was in 2021, 2022. I could if I was given more time, but just not off the top of my head like that. And the new signings, the new guys they signed over the offseason, obviously I can't say just how good they will be, but if the talent's there and the bullpen's managed, if they could squeeze out a few more of those close wins this year, that'd definitely be great. Now, as for what else is new, it's just been revealed on the Giants website. News came out that Joc Pederson could see time at first base this year, which when he was with the Dodgers in 2019, he didn't play well when he got the chance, but he's worked on it. And who knows how Pederson would be at first base. I still expect, excuse me, I still expect that he would be a below average defender, which, what else is new for the Giants? Having below average defenders it's cost them in 2022. LaMonte Wade Jr. would definitely be a better defender, I would think, at first base, unless there's some kind of drastic improvement from Pederson, which is going to be drastic enough to replace Wade. I don't think so. Wade's offense is a real question here. Pederson playing first base, I'm not sure how the rest of the lineup would be constructed if that would keep Wade out of the lineup, or if it would keep him out of the lineup on days when a left-handed pitcher was pitching. Like I mentioned before, he might be a good platoon option. At least I would like to see how all of that would play out. But that's the way things stand with Joc Pederson. I still think the Giants need to figure out who really is the best designated hitter candidate, whether that would be Pederson or Joey Bart or someone else. I think just a simple calculation of what would get them and save them enough runs, just both how does being in the DH spot improve a hitter's performance? Does it improve a performance for a specific hitter? How does that keep a bad defender off the field? I think those kind of things are the things to think about. So there's still a lot of questions going forward, and still just a lot of possibilities about who's going to break camp and make the opening day roster for the Giants. But they should have a strong focus on spring training. I think they will. Like, if even Joey Bart's going to have to compete for a spot on the opening day roster, they should have a focus on performance in spring training and, probably for what they've got, give the right guys a chance. Thank you for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you haven't. Also, please comment or ask a question. You know where to do it. And I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101.